Hi, trigonometry comes from the Greek word trigonon, a triangle, and metron, to measure. Trigonometry focuses on triangles and the ratios between sides and the angles between them. In this course, there are important ratios that we need to work with: sine, cosine, and tangent. In mathematics, we can write these as sine, cos, and tan. Now, angles can be named as letters, such as X, A, or B, but in most cases, an angle will be given the name of a Greek letter, such as alpha, beta, or theta. When working with these ratios, we write down the ratio followed by the angle. So as an example, we could say sine alpha, cos beta, or tan theta. Sine, cos, and tan are the names of the ratios, and the Greek letter is the angle. But if you are given the actual size of the angle, you can write it in place of the Greek letter. So we could say sine 30 degrees, cos 45 degrees, or tan 90 degrees. In trigonometry, you will need to find the value of the ratio given the size of the angle. And to do this, you can use your calculator, which will look like this. Please make sure that you have an up-to-date scientific calculator when working with trigonometry. Let's look at some examples. Let's find the value of sine 17 degrees. So we take our calculator, and over here we can see the sine, cos, and tangent ratios. So we say sine followed by 17 is equal to 0,2923, and so on. When finding values of trigonometric ratios, you will usually see numerous digits after the decimal place, and you don't need to write down all of these numbers as your answer. So unless the question specifies otherwise, you can round your answer off to 2 decimal places. So here we have 0,2923, and so on, which we can round off to 0,29. Let's do another one. Let's find cos 43. So here we say cos 43 degrees is equal to 0,7313, which you can round off to 0,73. Let's do another one. Tan 65. So in our calculator, we say tan followed by 65 degrees is equal to 2,1445, which you can round off to 2 decimal places, and we get 2,14. Let's do one more. Sine 62,5. Open our calculator, and we say sine 62.5 is equal to 0,887, round off to 2 decimal places, and we get an answer of 0,89. Even though trigonometry can seem complicated at times, we work with trigonometric ratios in a similar way to how we work with variables in algebra. And as an example, let's look at 3x. Here, x is multiplied by 3, and we know that 1 over 2y, y is multiplied by 1 over 2, which we know is actually y divided by 2. We can use this idea when working with trigonometric ratios such as 4 tan 21. Here we are multiplying the tangent ratio by 4. So in our calculators, we can say 4, and you don't have to put in your multiplication sign. All we do is we say tan 21 is equal to, and we get an answer of 1,535, round off to 2 decimal places, and we get an answer of 1,54. Let's look at 1 over 3 cosine 17. Now, we can read this as 1 over 3 multiplied by cos 17, or we can read it as cos 17 divided by 3. Now, the way you read it will determine what you put into your calculator. So let's open our calculators, and we can say cos 17 divided by 3 is equal to 0,995. Now, unfortunately, this is not the correct answer because over here, remember we said this bracket is for the angle. So we are looking at cosine of the angle 17 divided by 3. So let's try again. Cosine 17, close the bracket, divided by 3, and we get an answer of 0,318. Let's round off to 2 decimal places, and we get an answer of 0,32. This is our correct answer. But we can also say 1 divided by 3 cosine 17. So we say 1 divided by 3 cosine 17, and we get 0,3485. But again, this is not the correct answer. But why? We know that when we have a fraction, we are actually dividing the numerator by the denominator. So in this case, we've just said 1 over 3 cosine 17. And this fraction over here is not this fraction over here. Now, in earlier grades, we learned about BODMAS, and some may call it BIDMAS. We learned the order of operations, especially when it comes to brackets. And this is a perfect example of why BODMAS was so important. Here, we want to divide 1 by 3 and then multiply it by cosine 17. So let's open our calculators again. Let's open a bracket. We have 1 divided by 3, close the bracket, and then we have cosine 17 degrees, which is equal to 0,318, which we know we round off, and we get 0,32, and this is the correct answer. Please be very careful with your brackets when using your calculator. Let's look at one more example. 5 over 6 tan 34. Here we need to multiply tan 34 by the fraction 5 over 6. And there are two ways that we can do this. So let's get our calculator, and we can say 5 multiplied by tan 34, get an answer, and then divide that by 6, which gives us 0,56. Or we can say 5 divided by 6 in a bracket multiplied by tan 34. And again, we get an answer of 0,562, round off to 2 decimal places, and our final answer is 0,56.